word legacy. It's got a couple of meanings. Creating the legacies for people that need something built. The legacy we have with our employees, our suppliers, what sort of monuments we build as people in construction, and what legacy we sort of leave with the work that we do. We're here to make steel, and that's what we'll do.
So end of 2019, you're working for someone else, and you're thinking about, it's time to go. 2020, I'm going to start my own thing. When did you press the button? When did you know, all right, now's the moment to start Legacy Steel?
There wasn't really a moment in time. It was more a gut feel, what was happening with the market. The market had seemed to be sort of starting to slow down a little bit. So it was sort of like a decision to have a go now or don't do it at all, you know. So I could see that there was probably still a couple more years in the market. So that's why we thought we'd dive into it and give it a shot and throw everything we've got at it. So that's where we are now.
So that was the start of the business in early 2020. We're filming this, we're based in Auckland. There's no shortage of work in Auckland within construction, right? Yeah. How did you go about deciding where you wanted to play with the business, what to price up, what projects to get involved with?
During my time working, when we came back from Australia, we spent a couple of years working for D&H Steel Construction. I could see working with those guys, they're a big player in the market, that a lot of the small items on projects, builders were struggling to get someone to do a couple of plates or a beam here because we were such a big business. There's a lot of management and doing all the little bits and pieces. So we needed to just keep focusing on getting the structure up and moving forward. So I could see there was a need on multiple projects then for a little guy to come in and help out with that sort of stuff. So that really gave me my first idea that there's a market there for that, just helping people with all the stuff that other fabricators either can't or won't do. So I knew that there was a baseline of work there that we could get our teeth into.
That's interesting. So you knew that for most steel fabricators, they're interested in putting up the frames after the foundations go in, but all the little jobs around it, are they too picky? Are they too complex? It's the rats and mice rather than the cream of the job? Is that why you thought, hey, that's the thing I can focus on, is take away that problem from other steel fabricators?
Yeah, that's right. It sort of helps the builder out and the other steel fabricators. You can finish a job and then 6 months later they've still got bits and pieces to do everywhere. So that was what really sort of led us to thinking, well, we can help solve this problem. We've got the expertise that we can manage all these little bits and pieces. It lets the other guys get on with what they're good at, and lets the builder have a solution to doing all these bits and pieces. So yeah, that was why we thought there's a bit of a hole in the market we could fill there.
Now the name Legacy Steel, where did that come from?
It sort of came from a trip to Europe that me and my wife had taken while I was in Australia. We travelled to Europe and saw buildings like the Eiffel Tower in Paris and the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and it just made me think what sort of monuments we build as people in construction, and what legacy we sort of leave with the work that we do. So that's sort of what gave me the idea of Legacy Steel. We've got on our branding, creating legacies in steel. So it's creating the legacies for people that need something built. The legacy we have with our employees, our suppliers, the friendships, the relationships. So it's got a couple of meanings to the word legacy, but it sort of came from just being in construction and what we leave behind once we finish a job.
Now, looking out at your workshop just before we started interviewing, these do not look like small jobs. These look like large trusses, large infrastructure. And I've seen on your website too, these aren't small projects. Talk me through some of the scale of the projects you've done in this very short time of the first 12 months of your trading.
Yeah. They're sort of in a similar boat that we're doing the Korean Buddhist temple in Riverhead at the moment. It's a very complex structure. This is part of the temple. This is actually a column, so it'll stand up vertically. These are nearly 11 metres tall. And then you'll notice they've got all these bolted end plates on them. So all of these ties that we've got here bolt in between. So they all get fitted together on site. So you have a whole bunch of these trusses all standing up in a curved sort of set out, and then a whole lot of pipe ties bolting between that form that big lotus shape. And likewise with other jobs, we end up helping out with a few bits and pieces. The builder really enjoys dealing with us. Next job comes up, can you price this one? Of course we can. And then we end up sort of working into some of the bigger work. So it's only by being there to help really that is leading us into this other work. We're not really going out hunting for it as such. It's basically finding its way to us.
Do you think that's because you're not scared or shying away from that complex work that others may not want to touch because it doesn't fit what they want to do? Yeah. Like most fabricators will have a preference. They'll either want to do commercial, they stick to residential, or they're a metal worker. As you can see on our website, we're sort of willing to do everything. So we haven't really pigeonholed ourselves as being one kind of thing. I don't really want to do that. If someone needs help with something and we've got capacity, we're here to make steel, and that's what we'll do, I love that. We're here to make steel, and that's what we'll do. If there's fabrication involved, erecting on site, you'll make it happen.
Yeah, basically.
Let's talk about the team side of it. When you started this, it was just you and your wife, Christy, and then what's happened since then in terms of Legacy Steel's team?
So we started off basically just working out of a container, working within a friend's existing business. He had an engineering business, building containers and things like that. So he was happy to let me work out of his facility. I'd give him some subcontract work, and that's how we sort of started out getting the jobs done. Within the first sort of 6 months, we really needed to get out of his business. He had other things and priorities, and so we decided to make the move into our own facility. Employed guys, and we've just recently employed some more guys, and the team's just growing from there. So we've just sort of added to it as we've needed to. We're sort of getting to the size we probably want to be. We don't want to be the biggest or baddest fabricator in New Zealand. We want to get to a size that we can, help people. We can do some decent sized jobs, have a close-knit sort of a team, but we've got confidence in our abilities to do as well or better than anyone else. So we've just got to, stick to what we know that we're good at, and keep our foot in the pricing game. So.
Which is very important, and it must be working. I was looking on your website to look at some of the client wins you've had, and there's not one of these I don't recognise. What's some of the projects, if New Zealand Made fans are watching this and it would be driving around Auckland, what are some of the things they'd recognise in the Legacy Steel work that you've done?
So there are some projects on our website that are projects I've personally been involved in, but Legacy Steel hasn't necessarily fabricated and erected. But I've got them on there basically to show the base that we're able to manage that sort of project. So one of the projects I'm really proud of in my past is the Sylvia Park cone. So if you go to Sylvia Park Shopping Centre, right in front of the cinemas, there's a big cone-shaped structure that's supposed to represent one of the cones of the volcanoes around Auckland. I did that project probably 15 or 20 years ago with Auckland Steel. The design the consultants had at the time wasn't able to be made in New Zealand. A lot of sections and the way they had wanted to form them needed to be done in Australia. So we worked with the consultants there to basically redesign the cone to something we could do here, to do it for a price point for the client, and it's still there today. It's one of those monuments that, you know, that I'm proud of, and that will be there for another, you know, 15 or 20 or 30 years. So that's probably one project that a lot of people will be able to relate to.
You joined New Zealand Made in 2020, which is quite a crazy year for many. What was the reason for joining and putting New Zealand Made on what you do?
I've always been a big advocate for buy local. I think since COVID sort of struck and all the issues it's caused around the world, and you know, with the global economy, and that I wanted to try and be part of something to try and promote people buying locally. We support local suppliers and contractors as much as possible. Where we can, we look at where things are coming from to try and support buying New Zealand made products.
Where to from here? 2021, what's your, you know, I saw on your Facebook page you did it was like a 2 or 3 minute video of all the jobs you had done through 2020, and there was a lot of projects in there. I watched the 3 minutes and was surprised just how much you got through. What does success look like if you were to do another one of those videos at the end of 2021?
I think the goal this year is to basically, we're established in the workshop, you know, get a good crew going here, get consistency of work, so keeping a decent forward workload, keeping all of the guys busy and safe. Probably a little bit more growth, but yeah, as I said before, we don't want to be going and being the biggest guy around. So I want to be able to get consistent, do it well, keep offering a service to our clients.
I think that's a great message to end on. Thank you very much for your time today, Daryl, and I appreciate you sharing what Legacy Steel is all about, and I'm sure the Auckland landscape will see some of that impact over the coming years with the types of structures you're building.
Yeah, cool. Thanks very much for coming out.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching this episode of a Kiwi Original. If you like what you saw, then hit the subscribe button and you'll get other episodes just like this one in your inbox. Make sure you hit the bell too for notifications, and you'll be served up uniquely Kiwi stories like this one, contributing to New Zealand's future.